No, kind of, it's a policy that you guys have to discuss, and I think it's a healthy discussion.
Absolutely.
I have what Dan just
I
said.
agree.
I'm glad you're very well prepared, and I want to thank you
Well, I
for
got a
that.
couple months to think about it.
You're really very well prepared. That's all I can say. It's a policy that we need to discuss it, and we have a healthy discussion. So let's continue. As an administrator, for me, 1% like 5%, it's just a matter of you representing the public, and you need to listen to them and see what they say. And at the same time, you need to implement what you think is good for the public overall. So we need to continue that healthy discussion.
Well, and from what I've seen of the public here tonight,
Yes.
I don't know, you can raise your hand if you're for the franchise.
So I just want to,
I mean,
if we go with your proposal,
Correct.
my understanding of what your proposal would be, go with the 1%.
correct.
And then the utilities is going to eventually, in this year or the next year, have to be raising rates.
Well, Chip already told us we need to
3-4%.
raise our rates. And this has nothing to
But
do
that
with
did not
this
include
sales
anything with this franchise.
tax. You're right. So, because he said that we are obligated to raise our rates because of our debt. There's a ratio of, I think it's our reserves to debt, correct?
But he didn't include the franchise.
If we
fee.
don't have-
No,
If
that
we
don't
don't have
have.
a reduction in expenses or other revenue source,
Right.
this proposal of the 5% and a sharing agreement,
But
share
we raise our
agreement
rates 4%.
is a reduction in the expenses on the
Right.
utility side.
We could raise our rates 4% too, and keep all that money for the utilities.
But everybody benefiting from our infrastructure is not paying for that. Just these folks out here are paying for that. The other folks in the RECs in the city limits are not paying
But
for that.
we're paying for the infrastructure that serves us for electricity.
You might be, but not everybody else in this town is not doing it. They're not paying for the streetlights or for the power that goes to them. I'm just saying, it's not, that's not the case. So
But we could pay for the streetlights out of city taxes, and then.
that's how it gets paid
everybody-
now. That's how it gets paid now. That's how the streetlights paid for now.
We don't charge the city.
No, I mean, when they put, how much for this, I wish it for.
That's infrastructure. That was paid for with TIF money,
Okay, so that's still paid for with city resources.
and technically county resources, because the county didn't get that money
But they do once that bond's paid off.
in 30 years.
These bonds are 30 years, that was a maximum you guys can do, 20?
Well, even 20 years.
I mean, I don't
No,
know.
I mean, numbers, this housing addition is subsidized by the whole town. And it's costing $150,000 per house we put there. And when those bonds are paid off, each house is only gonna generate for the city about $2,500 based on today's rate. That's on a house that would pay $6,000 annually.
How much was the sewer line project that you guys just did?
700.
And that was paid for by the TIF money generated from the Wamble addition, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with anything other than
And
economic
that
development
has
paying
nothing
for
to
the
do-
city
And
poor.
that has nothing to do with utilities either, because that's not a
It's the
utility.
same principle. This is the whole point. You use your economic growth to offset lower costs for your
Correct.
core resident. So if you do a franchise fee, your economic development growth of your community is helping to not raise the rates as high as they would be. Going to go up 5 to 10%, the utility rates, and the franchise only has to go up 5%, I'd sign up for that all day long. I don't care about the RECs. I'm a Stewart board member.
I care about my electric, just like other people. Like I said, why can't the city pay these bills through their taxes? We all pay,
Because
everybody in town would pay for that.
In my opinion, everybody that lives in this town and benefits from the infrastructure is not paying for it when you have the RECs getting the revenue out of town, but not paying for anything in town. That's just
like
my
any
opinion.
business in town. They're entitled to it. They're providing a service, and they're entitled to take that revenue to pay for that service. Just like any business in town, they don't charge us what they pay for it. They make a living at it. That's fair. Like I said, somebody from the crowd, speak up.
Well, just as a reminder, we have a public hearing on Monday to
Okay,
discuss that.
true.
That's not what this meeting was for,
Okay.
okay? But I appreciate the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second of all, this wasn't city driven. I believe the utilities approached us about this.
Well, we
They're
were
trying
given
to
all
help
the
out.
facts when it was first presented to the council. We didn't know until a month or two later that none of this money goes to the utility. It was presented to us as a way for us to raise revenue, but it raises revenue for the city.
Right.
And the only
When
way
we voted to
yeah.
pursue this, we were told this was gonna raise money for the utilities, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, a
We
franchise
realize-
fee is a city franchise fee.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I
Now-
understood that at that time.
And that's why
That's,
we got together and we had a proposal that, yes, you can get any money from that franchise fee.
Right.
However, the city would be willing to look at offsetting the cost of shared employees.
we
Okay?
already do that.
No, you don't. You pay us for the shared employees,
Right.
which means,
But
Wait,
now,
but-
but
which
see, now
means
you're
you
treating one utility different than the others.
why do we have to, again, why do we have to treat them all the same?
Because, well, the folks that explained this to us said that we have to treat all three utilities the same. This is like offering a kickback. You agree to do this, we'll kick some money back to you. But we're not doing that for the other two utilities. To me, it like I said, normally these things, there's only one utility involved, so it's a lot different. But it's like you're proposing to us that we're gonna kick this money back to you. So that's kind of like a quid pro quo to me. Doesn't seem like, it seems like we're kind of skirting the rule of law here.
I don't think.
Because we're not treating
Yeah, I'm
all,
not a lawyer, it's gone through lawyers to get to
I
this point.
understand, but I
so it's-
remember specifically the guy who
it's-
explained this to us, that we have to treat all utilities the same, all three.
We have to
Was he
charge them,
talking-
no, it means we
yeah,
have to
was-
charge
I
them all
think
the
he was
same.
talking about the rate.
Right.
Correct,
No,
5% has to be charged
Yeah,
the
but
same.
now
which
you're
we
telling
all
us
do that.
you're gonna give us a good deal.
What, the money you spend out of it is all around the revenue purpose statement.
Correct.
That's what you're restricted on using it for.
Correct.
So
But
That's
one
the city,
proposal
that's
was,
the
well,
city.
we could charge the city for utilities. That's how we would get our money out of it. Right? Is that what was told us?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, that's like you're offering us a deal, you're not offering the other utilities. What about the utility I buy my electricity from? Why shouldn't they get something out of this?
Then they
See
should
what I
look for
mean?
better ways to be more efficient and bring those to that board to make those decisions and lower your rates or lower the rate of increase to benefit you. I don't work for them, I don't represent
I
them, I don't
understand.
care about
I understand that, but this is my opinion that it's
And
not
that's-
right.
I just
We're
want to
treating our citizens differently.
reiterate to the public, regardless of which decision goes through, the approximate amount of increase on the bills going forward is going to be pretty much the same because we're going to have to raise rates because of increasing costs and the economic conditions. So whether we do it in this manner or we do it with a 4% increase on our utility rates over time, to the average customer, it's going to be the same thing.
it. It won't be the same.
Not
Okay.
quite the same.
If you charge 4% on a franchise fee, it gets you a lot more money than 4% on our rate increase. Let's make no mistake about that.
Right.
So it's cheaper to do a 4% franchise fee increase than it is to do a 4% rate increase. That's, I mean, if this were coming to the utilities,
Yes.
which in fact it's not.
Correct.
What is, I
So
mean,
if we needed $70,000 in revenue and we had to make a rate increase that equated to $70,000 in revenue, that rate increase would actually be, I'm just reversing a little bit how you're saying it, that rate increase that we put on utility customers is actually going to be higher than what we have to do in this scenario because of the additional revenue that we're able to pull in.
Right, because you're using the other utilities to help subsidize
We're
this.
going through the legal process of
Correct.
having a
Correct.
franchise fee.
And that's just why I'm saying, that's why I agree how I do.
so I got this from Sarah today, just for some historic rate increases on the electric rate. From 2019 to 2021, there were 0 increases. In 2022, there was a 3%. 23 and 24, there were 0% increase, 0 increases. So the infrastructure that Pat's talking about needing, and what's DGR, whatever that guy's name is, this isn't small dollars. And so it's extremely important that we are smart about how we raise rates because, I mean, I don't know if you're talking 15 to 20%. We haven't gotten that far, but you're talking about, I mean, can you give it a 1-minute overview of the magnitude of expenses, $7 million, what all that includes?
What this would include would be upgrading everything on the south side, and as part of that, part of the issue there is our utilities down there. To put it simple, the wire isn't big enough for when these large like Quick Star, and now we're gonna have another one come in. They're gonna bring in fast chargers for their cars, electric chargers. And those things pull a tremendous amount of power, and we are not set up for that right now. So we have to do some upgrades and put in bigger wire, bigger transformers, and try to prepare for that when it comes, because it's gonna come eventually.
Is it correct though, even without Quick Start, the trends that we were given were showing that we were quickly approaching capacity, and that it's not like we're doing it just for, because we have a few new businesses or things like that, like.
But even without that,
We
don't
would
we have
have
an
to be
age,
doing
don't we have an
this.
age issue on the substation on the north
Yes.
side, or what?
We do,
Okay,
it's,
so that's,
it's older than I am, it's over 50 years old.
so I mean,
So we're looking at replacing that so that we still have two sources of power. Because if anything ever happens to the substation on the other side of town, we're out of power. And there's not a whole lot we're gonna be able to do in the future, because we set an all-new peak last year that we've never seen before. And we are getting very, very close to not having enough generation to meet that peak,
so,
if we had to.
so if you apply this to the math side of things, if you can get that done through a cost savings initiative that maybe you're talking about by reducing costs on the utility side from this franchise fee, with everybody paying part of that, and that's 4%, and then we have to raise rates an additional 4%, that may be better than raising rates 15%, if that makes sense. Because you got utility rates and you got franchise fees. And the franchise fees makes everybody pay for part of this, and we only have to raise rates a little bit. That's,
I haven't seen any numbers of how much of the
We're
franchise fee would come back to the Sturton.
that's,
I
you
haven't,
guys,
I haven't seen a number.
that's what the point of this discussion.
Yeah, that's where we were getting to, but, and I know you mentioned like doing a 1% franchise fee, but you do that, okay, and that, everybody pays for that, all the RCs, right? And then you have to raise your rates, so now you're double hitting the, not all customers, but you're double hitting the ones in Stewart with the 1% franchise fee, and then you guys raise your rates. It's only gonna hit the people that are on the, utilities, not the RECs.
Correct,
So
and
now they're
my
going-
rates go up when so this truck stop that's a big truck stop, and that thing's probably gonna balloon here. So if there's expansion south of my street, my utility's gonna have to upgrade to provide that power too, and that will affect my utility bill. So to say that, we're not gonna pay, we will, if anything grows past there in Stewart, but it very well could, when you start having that many vehicles pull off the interstate and turn south, what's gonna happen next? Well, then my utility's gonna have to make upgrades too, and then my bill's gonna have to pay for that too.
I'm in the same boat you are. I'm on an REC.
Okay.
I'm gladly willing to pay this franchise fee because I have a street light all the way up to this building. And in some of the core part of town, there's no street lights. So I'm indirectly benefiting from
Including
this
my
anyway.
neighborhood,
Well,
including my
yeah,
neighborhood, there's
that's
no
fine.
streetlights out there.
Okay,
Right.
but,
I'd much rather be on the side of having growing pains than having, what
Me
a lot of
too.
other communities
Me
have
too,
right
but
now.
there's other,
Pinching pennies, to figure out how that.
this growth is also gonna generate more tax dollars. It is.
Yes. Yeah. So,
And if we have a big project out here, we have TIF available to help pay for those infrastructure fees. It's paid for by the whole city and the rest of all the 2 counties that are in.
but.
So we have other levers to pull to do this. We don't have to do it through our utility bills. We don't. We have other levers to pull to do that.
The utilities doesn't.
You only have one lever, and that's a rate increase.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Yeah, that's
So
what the
there's no
city side of the
levers,
thing.
there's one.
So, but
Unless you start doing
any
bake sales.
infrastructure that you have to add for this development, TIF money paid for that, and it can happen if we have to upgrade for a big development that happens on the south side of town too. We could use TIF money to add that infrastructure to handle it. We don't have to do this franchise fee. Like I said, we can raise our rates when we need money too. So this isn't the only lever to pull to help pay for this upgrade. You use TIF money to build this building, am I correct?
Yes.
So you could use TIF money on that project too.
On what? On the power project?
Yes.
That's if the city's willing to do that.
Correct.
Which we haven't even
Correct.
gotten there because we have no,
I
we just
understand
started
that.
that stuff.
I understand it.
Yeah. My whole thing with this was, again, I read this in I can't remember what community. Then if you look at them, Atlantic, there's tons of towns. Winterset, everybody does this franchise fee.
Right.
We should have been doing it, in my opinion, since the beginning of time, because it's the most efficient way for everybody in town to pay for what they're benefiting from. I benefit from streetlights, I benefit from whatever, even though I'm in an REC. And I don't care, I'm glad to pay it, I don't care. It's cheaper, I shouldn't expect Tim Young to pay for my streetlights, I'm willing to contribute. You know, his rate shouldn't go up 8%, mine go up 2%, but I'm getting a streetlight, I'm getting a, you know, whatever. That's not right, so. And you call it the cost of doing business, it's gone through lawyers, you know, it's just, it's a philosophical
It
difference.
is.
And
It
that's
is.
totally good.
It is.
And I'm glad you have researched it and that's awesome.
I guess getting back to this.
Yeah,
you said
sorry.
you had- No, you're all right. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You were asking for numbers and stuff. So, when Neil and I were talking, there's approximately 97,000 that would come in with this franchise fee. And you guys, the utility side, should be able to reduce your cost of shared staff by about 75,000. So that you would just keep that. You wouldn't get a check written to you or nothing. You would just not pay that to the city.
So where are you guys coming up with that ad hoc?
Want to take that one?
Yeah, so, if we're looking at the 17,000, some of this came about the 17,000 coming back in from the counties, and the 1,400 that the city would no longer be getting from, the, current lost sales tax. And, so came up with just a first proposal of, 20,600 in new money, in the city budget, and that comes from $97,000 fee, and that's off of the 2024 fiscal year approximation that Chip Schultz gave to us, and then 75,000 expenditure shift into the utilities, into the shared costs of staff, and then minus the 1,400 lost with the local option sales tax.
And that comes to, what's the number?
20,600. So that's new money in the city budget, 20,600. And then $75,000 reduction in the shared cost of the utility. So the utility would then have $75,000 of new money to work with. That would mean we wouldn't have such pressure on raising the utility rate, the electric rate at this time. So yes, there'd be the franchise fee, but there would be less need to have anything happen with the electric rate at this time.
And so the city would keep 100% of that would pass the cost savings from the shared employee
Yes.
pool of money, reduce that by 70?
Correct.
So
So
that's
the
75, yeah.
city pulling in $97,000 of revenue.
Okay, so let's say 100.
Now, and then the city is
This is
spending,
that's Chip's data off of September.
city is pulling in $97,000 more revenue.
Okay,
Spending, their expenses go up by 75,000 because they're sharing more of the cost of the shared employees. And then, but they also lose that little $1,400 in lost sales tax. That's where you get the $20,600 of new money that the city gets. So,
so then the Stewart Utilities frees up that money and does not pay that, and that would need to go through an attorney and Chip. Chip recommended that.
Yeah.
At that point.
changing up the sharing agreement on staffing costs.
Yeah. But that would need to go, if that was approved, subject to Monday, that would need to go back to Chip and Steve Brick or somebody to.
And I don't see how you could say you're treating the three utilities the same, because you're not.
The
I agree,
treating the
you're
three
not.
utilities the
So,
same
and
as
it's a
charge.
difference in philosophy from.
Yeah, but treating the three utilities the same means we have to charge them all 5%. It has nothing to do with anything else other than that.
Right.
It means we can't charge us 1% and the REC's 5%.
Well, it does make a difference, like I said, when you pay your electric bill to another entity. And it seems like the legality of it, where they have to treat, I mean, it's like I said, it's like a quid pro quo.
And
But it's not, because
It's
it's
like,
and we have-
it's like a bribe.
we have
agree to
utility
it.
customers in the city that are treated differently from one side of the town versus the other.
Correct.
Because,
But
so,
that's, the
So-
city's not creating that.
Right.
That's because we,
but there's there's disparate treatment all over the place. And what all taxing entities are trying to do is trying to level the playing field and do what's best for their
But
customers.
my
And that's all
share
I'm trying to
of my property
propose.
taxes, it's, the millage rate is the same as it is in Guthrie County. It's the same. We're all treated the same. This does it differently. Our taxes are different because one county might be higher than the other, but what I pay in taxes, I'm paying at the same rate as everybody in Guthrie County. So, and as far as the rest of the franchise fee, I mean, we're already operating without one. If REC tears up a street to do something, who pays for it? Does the city pay for that street or does the REC have to pay for that?
I see.
That's what I thought.
So a smaller group of us have kind of talked a lot about what's on the table, what a proposal might look like. I'm interested to hear what everybody else has to say on what their ideas on the numbers, the philosophy difference.
I like your idea, I like your approach, and the percentages, I agree. It would just need to go through, Steve Brick and Chip to make sure everything's buttoned up on a formalized agreement for documentation. I mean, that's all. I mean,
Keep bringing up the RECs have seen, like, or, somewhat of a proposal, like, was there any feedback from them, like, pushback or anything? Obviously, they don't know
All I heard is the other entities accepted the.
That they accepted.
they had to sign off on them in order to be.
Yeah, they had
In order to be-
to, for us to
They
send
just
that
pass it
public
on.
hearing.
They just pass it
Correct.
on, they don't care, they just
Correct.
pass it on. It doesn't cost them anything, they just pass it on.
So that was kind of the proposal that Neil and I had worked on, Again, this was brought to the council as a way to generate new revenue and a way to help out the utilities, hopefully stave off some rate increases for a while. The one thing I wouldn't want to do is institute a franchise fee and then see them raise the rates. Because then
That's a fair point.
Chip told us we're gonna have to do that. He already told us we're gonna have to raise our rates. He did. So it'll be on top of that 4%.
But it was again, that he was.
Figure in the $75,000.
The matter is that we either needed to lower expenses or increase revenue or find an alternative way to do this. And in this proposal, we're reducing our expenses. By reducing expenses by $75,000, we don't have that same pressure that we do now in what Chip was telling us before, needing to have that rate increase immediately so we're gonna have.
So if we just raised rates on Stewart utility customers by 4%, how much money would that generate?
We'd have to get Chip to tell us the exact number, so.
Well, let's get that number too.
I would think.
That's gotta be studied after all of the infrastructure analysis. has been
We
done.
should, this should be part of the public hearing on Monday.
Well, what were our fees? What was our electric fee in fiscal year 2024?
We have to look it up.
But that's kind of commercial and everything else, and you'd have to have just a residential class. Well, I guess it's
No,
for everybody.
no, everybody.
Yeah, it'd be a gross number.
Right.
Add 4% to that. What's that generate? Okay,
I wrote down,
I guarantee it will be less than what we're able to generate out of this
Yeah.
additional 4%. Just
Because-
because we know that how the
The franchise fees everyone, a utility rate increase is a subset of that. So it might be 70%. I would rather have everybody in town contribute and do that increase at a lower rate than just, our folks that have maybe that 4%, 6% in utility rate speed. And that, I don't know, I don't wanna do that. I'd rather have, if we can do this, which obviously we can, and thank you guys for being willing to work with us. I appreciate your proposal. If you want to approve it, I'll be glad to make the motion on my side of that. Sorry.
So again, this is not approving the franchise fee at all. It would just be saying, that we would look at approximately 97,000 in revenue coming to the city. And that we would work with the utilities to offset their shared costs for their employees by 75,000.
Just up to approximately or something.
Yeah, approximately, because, we don't know what the final numbers would be. And this would all be subject to any kind of vote at the public hearing, because it hasn't been passed yet. But this is just to say, this is what we would propose. Is that acceptable? And then if it is, I guess you guys would, I don't know.
Well, we have to vote to accept the agreement also. All
Yeah,
three
you guys
utilities.
have to decide, and we have to decide, and
Right.
it's all subject to Monday.
Right.
And
So I would make that
so
motion
advisor would.
for the 97,000 approximate income, that would go to the city, and that we would work with the utilities to, revamp the cost sharing, to lower that by approximately 75,000. We'd send this to probably Chip and Steve Brick to, I don't know if I want to say ratifi's not the right, yeah, subject to legal approval, but I'd like to see Judge Chip and Steve Brick, and it'd be subject to, approval of the franchise fee at our public hearing.
I would sure think they could get numbers on the percent with and without franchise fee on what rates would potentially increase.
We can get that on our side. We gotta do that anyway with all of the phased approaches of infrastructure
Right.
changes.
I totally agree with a lot of those points. I just think the utility rates are going to go up. It's just how much are they gonna go up and how are we gonna go about doing that and what benefits the people of Stewart. So if we can do a franchise fee and you don't have to raise rates or raise them minimally versus just raising the rates without the franchise fee, it's gonna be more. But I would think they could get those numbers. And I can't imagine it take them that long, but what do I know?
Seems like that.
We got a motion and discussion.
We're still gonna,
This is
You make
just,
this
this is-
subject to Monday, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's subject to Monday. This is just a proposal on how we would use,
allocate.
yeah, it would be, well, it's all allocated to the city.
Yeah.
But we would work with the utilities to reduce their cost of shared employees by 75,000.
I'll second that.
And,
Just a quick question
Yeah.
before we go. Do we have to take action tonight? Can everything just wait till Monday?
I don't think so. I don't know why you would act until you pass the franchise fee. I don't know what that motion is, sir.
I think if you got a joint meeting tonight, you have to have another one later on.
yeah, I mean, again, it's all just subject to that, if it doesn't pass, then it's gone anyway.
Right.
you know.
Correct.
So,
So there's no point in voting on anything
I
tonight.
mean, we could, if it passes, then you'd have to have another meeting, so.
Well, we would have to approve any agreement anyway, which there isn't an agreement in front of us even to approve anyway. So we still have to approve the franchise agreement as a utility.
No, we don't. It's
No,
not our agreement. We had to approve charging our customer 5%, we already did.
That's not what I voted for.
But we had to,
I voted that we were just looking into it. We didn't even have the facts then. We didn't have any facts.
We voted and it caused action to take it to the other utilities and move to this point that we're at today, so.
Right, but we never had an agreement in front of us to vote on. We have to agree to this franchise agreement.
And that may be, there may be a final
They
document.
had to agree to it, right? It was presented.
the
to them.
RECs and the utilities have all had this legal documentation too.
Right. And we haven't had any legal documentation to vote
We
on
had,
as a utility.
when did we get that? We got that from Tim Whipple at some point. We had to in order for the city to call a public hearing, correct?
I think after the city passes the whole thing, there will be something called the utility. As far as I
Right,
know.
we have to agree to, that's what the guy who explained this said that once this is put in place, they would present an agreement to all three utilities, and all three utilities have to agree to that agreement.
they did that prior to the other two.
We haven't seen an agreement. We don't have an
we
agreement to
have
vote on.
that, so.
We don't have an agreement to vote on. That's what the man who explained this to us told us, that the agreement had to be the same for all three utilities. And we haven't had an agreement in front of us to vote on it. As a utility, we have not, you haven't even voted to do it yet.
Right.
So, yeah, we were just given the order that the other utilities had to get, sign off on it first, and then it was gonna come to the city for ordinances, and the full mechanics of if there's final paperwork that our utility has to
My
sign
understanding
off
is,
on.
we do,
Yeah,
we have to
maybe
vote
there
on,
is.
we have to vote on the final agreement. All three utilities have to agree for it to go through. That was my understanding from the guy who presented it to us. And we can get some clarification on that too. That was my understanding. And nothing's been put in front of us, other than that we're gonna look into this franchise fee, because we weren't given any numbers when we voted to look into this.
Yeah, because
And we weren't given any details. We just voted to look into
to
it.
your point, there still was a question at the beginning about, 1% versus 5%.
Correct.
But we did direct them to go to the other utilities with
Correct.
5%.
Correct.
So,
But well, there's a whole agreement that they go to with.
that was kind of, in directing them to go to the other utilities with 5%, that
Correct.
was kind of
Yep.
our way of saying we're kind of on board with 5%. So, now if there's another document that we have to sign and approve on, that
Well, at the
That
time,
may-
we didn't even know what that percent was, so
Yeah.
we didn't agree to 5% because we didn't know what it was. They hadn't even moved, had a motion on it yet.
So again, we need our folks that helped us with the whole process to come in and button up on the mechanics of it, but,
So just reading from an email here, they're saying that these formal agreements for the street utilities would be approved at the final meeting, final readings of the franchise ordinance are approved. It doesn't say anything about the utilities approving it. And that's from the attorney. We have to assess and enforce the franchise fee.
That's where they all be equal, both RECs and the sewer utilities have to share the same amount.
Right. So we have to enforce the same general terms.
So I don't see anything wrong with what you're doing, approving it subject to. If it fails for some odd reason, then,
This is just more saying this is what we would do if it passes. Just so everybody's on, we know exactly, what we'd be doing, instead of just leaving it up there.
because if the city's under the guys that they want to keep the whole 97,000 and raise budget, all the
Then there's
budgets,
that side.
I'll be in the audience next time and I'll be objecting to it.
Right.
In that ordinance here.
So-
Because-
And this is just saying
Is this binding for the length of this franchise fee? The city council couldn't change where that money goes.
that's the agreement that we're voting on right now. There's no duration in this motion, right?
Well, the franchise fee is for 25 years. That means we wouldn't pay for these city employees for 25 years.
Up to 75,000, so as costs change, that number's gonna change too, right? Not 75,000, but the shared salary cost would change.
Is it gonna be based on a percentage, or is it
It's
gonna
not,
be?
you
is it
said
gonna be-
$75,000 up to approximately,
Right.
or you did, one of you.
Yeah, it was in that.
But just as it is today, it's always up to future boards to decide if the current sharing agreement between, for staffing is appropriate or not, so.
Well, what if we went with a percentage of the revenue generated rather than a set number?
Yeah,
Because,
perfectly go with that too. I just went, I was trying to tie things together with the 17,000 out of the counties and the loss of the 1,400.
why don't you set it at 4% rather than a dollar number? At 4%, rather than a dollar number. You'll get your 1%,
You mean it, four of the five, so 80%,
or, sorry, yeah, 80%, yeah.
which is approximately what this is coming out to
Right.
anyway, but,
I'm not opposed to that either.
So 80% of the 97.
If that revenue goes
I don't
up, that
think-
means that the
Right.
utilities portion of that goes up, rather than
Or
locking in
can
a
it just
number.
be reviewed every 3 years or something to make adjustments?
I don't know how often it can be reviewed.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I think it can be reviewed annually or whatever you want it
To
to be.
be amended if necessary.
Yeah, there you go.
Or you could, like I said, you could just 80%. And then if revenue goes up from the franchise fee, the utilities gets an increase in revenue automatically. If you set it at $75,000, that takes another.
So that'd be about
City
21,
council.
80%'s a little lower than.
Come up with the
Yeah,
number.
but
80,
Come up with the number.
80% of the 97, if it was 97,000, 80% would be $2,100 more. So it'd be 77,600. And I said 75. So it'd be $2,100 more
$2,100 more for what?
for cost reduction.
Based on 2024 fiscal year.
Yeah, it's in 2020, yeah, it's the same, we're taking that 97,000 that he got,
So it would increase that.
yeah, $2,100,
Okay.
from 75 to 77.
So what if we set on a percentage and then that doesn't take an act of the city council to increase it?
Yeah,
If those
just
funds
makes, no,
increase.
that makes sense. I don't-
I'm fine
I
with
don't
that,
care.
I mean, I can amend my motion to do that.
I'm just saying that also,
Um,
12 of, 15 of us are here right now to decide this, it can be subject to me, it's better to, get something in place versus trying to schedule something else for, we tried Monday and that didn't work, so it's a hassle to try to get everybody together.
So instead of saying, same motion, instead of saying 75 and then whatever, 80%. And then we're gonna reduce, you reduced your cost share,
That will set the amount.
80% of whatever that is.
Or maybe add in there that Chip and the attorney may have another way of doing that, right? How other towns, what are the agreements they put with other towns? So, giving them the leeway, just saying if it's referred to them, they may come back with something, another way to share that.
It's gonna be,
Subject to the attorney and the financial advisor recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we'll do that.
To Brett?
Yeah, could you refer that? I would like to go to Steve. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the motion.
Yes, I did much.
We have a second. That's my dog. How do you vote? Sullivan?
Yes.
Russell? Morgan?
Yes.
Kellogg?
Yes.
I didn't say anything.
I was wondering if you said it.
No, and he just moved on, so.
I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Okay. Crawford,
Yes.
Jones, Sherman.
No.
Belden,
Yes,
Avy, yes.
thank you.
Thanks, yes, thank you for the
Man,
discussion.
Shaw's, you know how hard this is on this side to try to, and then hopefully this can be used to not raise utility rates. If this new money, Chip can put this now into his,
That's the goal.
Okay, three.
That's how I feel strong.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'd rather have a debate than doing anything.
I think the other way is way to speak. I did.
Oh, you need to vote.
pay for the rec center down there. What I'm saying is our county now. Greenfield have a rec center, because Rutgers Center have a rec center. We don't get. Yeah.
So we're already.
Getting something. No, we don't get it all, they still get something. Yes.
So that
That's
that's why you guys.
just temporary.
We're getting.
What I'm saying is,
We're getting infrastructure.
and then you have the cost. It's worth zero.
Okay, number three, city utility.
Yeah, no, I get it totally.
Hey, guys.
Okay, number three. Okay, last time we tried to do this, it didn't go very well. And I think most of us was here. This time I tried to really put it on the agenda as exactly what it means. This is a promotion. It's not for the employees to take over my position. That's what was misunderstanding. Last time we tried to do it with Mike, and we ended up losing money. So I hope we don't have the same turn here. Strictly a promotion to deputy clerk that who has went beyond the leave of the training. I am the one working with them every day. I know you will trust in me. Today, I'm gonna give you exactly how I feel about that item. And I would love that you approve my recommendation. We started out when Mike left, that I am the only one left in the organization that who can know anything about what's going on. And I remember you saying, Brian, that I leave to be a back.
At that
You're
point,
right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
And I told you that I won't leave. I will stay, I'll bring it back, and then we can talk about me leaving. And I did. That was 2 years ago. I asked Sarah if she would like to step up. She said yes. I didn't know how the turnout was gonna be. Today, I'm telling you, she exceeded the expectation. Literally. Knowledge about utility and city beyond belief. Today, as we speak. And I can count everything that she does beyond the even utility and city, planning and zoning, board of adjustment, cemetery look. I can say all my talk about it, but I'm not gonna try to spend much time except saying that I am giving her one of the hats that I wear. I wear so many hats. One of them city clerk. I think she deserves it. As a promotion to keep her, and she's happy whether she gets a promotion or not. She's not gonna leave us. She has a family, we built a new house, she wanna retire in the city of Stuttgart. I would like to tell everybody, please invest in her. This is a promotion to her. To make her city clerk. It's not to take over or to have the position of the city administrator. She's just gonna be a city clerk with more responsibility and more authority to sign, meaning to sign resolution, to sign ordinance, to do the day-to-day operation that I oversee. So I respectfully recommend that you approve my recommendation to promote her.
I got something to say.
Sure,
In your city code,
yes.
18.02, powers and duties, general. The clerk or in the clerk's absence or inability to act, the deputy clerk has the powers and duties as provided in this chapter, this code of ordinance, and the law. So as of right now, that is part of her duty as the deputy clerk, if you're not there, since you're the city clerk, to step in.
Yes.
So, nothing against Sarah, but that's part of her job right now. So why promote her? Because then there's gonna take more income to raise it for her when that is part of her job now.
I ask you to promote her, to
Right.
encourage her.
And here again, we're talking more money. Okay, according to the code, city code, that's part of her job. Clerk.
But she can't sign as a clerk. So you're giving her that clerk as a promotion.
So,
According to,
so with that, she's taking some responsibility off of your plate. Is
Yes.
that correct? So, could we make this cost neutral?
so we lower your pay and give it to her
Correct. That would be
for
cost neutral.
taking part
If
of
she's
your
taking on
job.
more responsibility, we can compensate her. If you have less, we can just Do it that way.
He didn't pay me more for taking, wearing so many hats.
But you
Yeah,
just said she's
yeah,
taking
it
out
is. It's in the
responsibility.
city code. I've been reading the city code this week, and it is in the city code that the city council, I didn't bring it with me, but the city council, your pay is decided on how the city council wants to pay you for doing treasurer, city clerk, and administrator. And it's in the city code.
We're not talking about me now, we're talking about
No.
an employee we're trying to promote.
Correct. We're trying to come up
We
with.
need to, do we have a closed session or something that we should,
Well, and that's
this
one,
should be on the agenda that it's not?
that's one thing that I didn't, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I don't wanna get us, I'm just saying, I don't wanna get us into a
But,
space we're not supposed to be in, because the agenda doesn't say that.
and I appreciate, let me start this way. So how long did Mario work for the city approximately? 10 years? Okay, and he left 2 years ago? Okay, and in that 10 years, he was never brought up for a promotion until it was time for him to walk out the door.
True.
And in 2 years, we're being asked to consider a promotion. Could be possible. I don't know. There's, to Brian's point, I generally think there should be the opportunity put on the agenda for an employee, because you're gonna be talking about performance and why they deserve that. And I think it's the duty of the council, some council members may not think that. I think it's the duty of the council, and because she's a shared employee, the duty of the utility board to be able to ask performance-based questions and use that to determine if a person is promotable. And I don't see that opportunity here, because she could say, no, I don't want to go into closed session. That's everybody's right. Mike Morgan did it. He didn't want to go into closed session. And we're able to talk, be kind of uncomfortable.
But doesn't that have to be on the agenda?
It has to be on the
And she
agenda.
said no.
That
But
has to
doesn't
be
it
on
have to
the
be on
agenda.
the agenda
on
to
the
discuss?
agenda.
We asked her if she wanted to have a closed session, she said no.
But it has
But
to
doesn't
be
have to be
on the
listed there to
agenda.
even have a
There has to
discussion
be-
of performance.
There's some legal thing on there, there's language, and trust me, I've called the Iowa League of Cities about this. What does it have to be on there? If you're talking about performance, you have to give them a chance, and because the public has to know that you could possibly go into closed session. And without it,
That's correct.
yeah, I mean,
We do it on our agendas too.
yeah, you have to have that. And I'd be more than willing to look at that, but if people have questions, we can't sit here and talk about performance and stuff with everybody here unless it's done the correct way.
That's what Mike, I called a lawyer today and asked him, Nicholas.
Uh-huh.
I said, can we talk about performance? He said, I would suggest not saying
Yeah.
that
And how do you
Because
promote
unless it's on
somebody?
the,
Unless you're in
unless
closed
it's,
session.
what?
unless you're in closed session.
Well,
But I mean,
they
does
can
it have
have the
to be on?
opportunity, they can have the opportunity to say no, and then you can talk about it out, but they have to have that, it has to be put on there. And I don't know, maybe there are other businesses that just promote people just because, but I know where I work at, you have a performance review, and it's gone over, and then if you get a promotion, you get a promotion. If your performance is not there, it's not
So-
there.
Let me ask you something. Are we opposing the money side of it? Right?
No,
No, all he's saying is we should,
it's-
it should be on the agenda.
I didn't say that at all.
Also, from my perspective, the title of city clerk is more about succession planning because of the title itself. It's the city clerk. And if we were talking about going from administrative assistant to deputy clerk in that type of promotion at the lower level, that would be a different thing to just come and say, I'm looking to promote an employee. But this is the upper managerial position that we're promoting into. To me, that's succession planning. And there's a lot more things that we need to be thinking about as entities, boards, to, open up discussion about what we think of succession planning for what we want a next city clerk to be. So just the title itself, if you were just talking about a promotion from one title to the other, it's the title itself of city clerk that does it for me.
So the opposition has of the title or the money? I just wanna know so I can
You're
answer.
talking about a holistic plan or what?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
The city could decide to go, when you
The whole
go,
thing is,
the
I am
succession
the
plan
city
could
clerk.
go a completely different direction. They could go back to a city clerk system and not have a city administrator. I mean, that's part of the succession plan too.
Samantha, sorry, put you on the spot. You're the business manager for West Central and Nora, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean,
Like I said, we're trying to promote the employee, not demote.
not what?
When I am the administrator, recommending to you that one of the employees is doing an outstanding job. And you're telling me no.
We can also address that at pay raise time. We don't have to give the same raise to every employee. We could give her a bigger raise when that time comes. If you feel she needs that, you can ask for that.
Okay, that's what I wanna know.
Yes.
It's kinda,
different ways
talking
to do
about the raise or the title, and
I think
with the title, she's not gonna do any different than what she's doing now. With the title, the deputy as you.
What's the
Who
point?
is this?
That's what I was trying to get across.
And that's really what I'm trying to establish too.
Right. I think it's a lot more
It's,
complicated.
it's her title is here, the title is here,
I hear.
so she's not doing anything different.
And I have nothing against
To
her.
give her more money
Right.
because we appreciate what she does. I see her have open-minded about that, and I'm glad to hear that,
Yes,
because that's really was my idea.
okay.
Thank you, but
I did.
thank you so much, because this is really what I was gonna refer to. She's not gonna do any different than what she's doing right now.
But see that when,
Now you're telling us.
back in the
we
council,
shouldn't promote it.
back on the council side, when Jim got a specific raise, it was because he got his grade 3. When our guys get a certification, there's a raise associated with that. They've got a designation and they're taking on more work. So
And
that's,
she's getting the certification, certified municipal clerk. Yeah.
you have that.
I have it, yes, and she's going to.
So why do we need two?
Right. I
There
mean,
you go.
But because I am not gonna be here forever,
Correct.
you have to have someone.
Well, okay, so,
But you don't normally fill a position
That's
before it's left
succession.
vacant.
We don't fill it,
Right.
you know.
In the real world,
And-
they don't even list the position until it's vacant.
How
Okay, so let's try not to give that title, if that title is created about it. Why don't we give her a raise?
okay, so say if you're not gonna be here and someone needs to fill her shoes, for one thing, she don't have the qualifications that she needs for your job. So how is she gonna fill that job?
We're not talking about that, we're talking about, more.
No, you said that
She's taking on
she's gonna take over for you when you are not here. How can she do that because she don't have the qualifications for it? No, she don't. To be, you are the city clerk, the treasurer, and the administrator. Okay, all she would be able to do is the city clerk, not the administration or the treasury.
Yes.
Because she don't have the qualifications for those, for all three.
But we're not
We're getting
promoting to make.
into-
According to your city codes, she does not have the qualifications.
We're not making her a city assistant. We're trying to promote.
Exactly, but you're also sitting there saying, when you're gone, she's gonna step in. Did I hear that
We can't
wrong?
talk about this. You
We
need
gotta
to
go
stop
close there.
that.
Let's stop
Okay.
now.
We're getting close to
Let's
that
just
mark.
table this now.
We need to
This
put on.
should have been, instead of just put on the agenda, everybody should have known this ahead of time instead of come out in the agenda and here we go.
What,
We're
how
done with
can
this.
I discuss a joint employee if I don't have a joint meeting?
I would have put succession planning on a meeting schedule
Yeah.
and said, we're gonna talk about what we want for the future. And this employee, that employee, and, you know, we might look outside, we might look internally, whatever the case may be, but we're all here to look at that information together.
And you can
So
still
this was kind of
address us.
And that's what we do. We
But
talk about
this
it.
is just the recommendation right out of the gate before discussion. So,
And that's what we're discussing. I need to hear from you, so I need to know how you look at the issue.
We can't discuss it
You gotta
fairly.
do it in a closed.
We have to do this properly.
You might get into a performance thing where somebody may have a question about performance.
Or make a comment.
Who, yeah, they could make a comment. And there are specific guidelines to listing this stuff on the, and I would think you would know that,
I know that.
that it has to be on there, that there could be a closed session. Now, the subject of the agenda item is the one that can say, yes, they want a closed session, or no, they don't. If they do that, if it's on there that there could be a closed session, and they say, no, I don't want a closed session, it's almost a free-for-all. You can't just say anything. But then you can discuss performance with people in the audience. If they say, no, I want a closed session, then everybody goes out. But there's no indication that we might be going into closed session here. It has to be on there. That's, because people may have questions about performance instead of just saying, well, I'm gonna take your word, she's, the next best thing to sliced bread. Could be, I don't know.
Okay, so what we need to do is we need when we have another special meeting,
Well, we
Yeah,
can
do it
discuss,
individually,
we can
doesn't have to be a
discuss
special
this
meeting.
at our next utility board meeting.
Right.
And we could put that we may go into closed session.
Or we can have a,
but you need to have the city council here too.
No, we don't.
well, but that's her point.
That's because they're part of her too.
Correct, but we don't have to vote on it when we have this discussion either.
True.
You could discuss them independently.
We can
But-
discuss it and we
But
can
I think
vote.
it's good to hear
Okay.
feedback
We
and
can
we'll
vote.
do
I
it.
think it would be good to have
Yeah.
everyone together,
It
but
would.
you could.
But we can have the
I
discussion.
would rather have everyone together so we can
Same
only
here.
do it at one time.
Then we can have another special meeting to do it. But
Okay.
he's right. We.
Possible of closed
this
session.
isn't-
On the Thursday of our regular meeting. would be-
We can do it right before,
Yeah, at 5
If
o'clock.
that'll
so
work with
5:30.
all
If
you
that-
guys,
If we can get
5
enough
o'clock.
people, which is a struggle.
on next Thursday, or this, what is it today? Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Next
we can do
Thursday.
it on the next
Yeah.
council meeting.
Well,
And I like Neil's thing is, we should have some sort of succession plan.
I agree.
I know I have talked about a hiring process. I know a lot of you guys up here. And where is it? It's not there. So, I think
Mike.
we need to have it.
How do you define succession today?
How do I define it? It's like, how are we gonna handle it when you leave? Or when Sarah- or when
Are you
anybody
talking
leaves.
about me leaving?
No, you just didn't listen. I said, you leave, or Sarah leaves, or Jim leaves, or anybody leaves. You gotta know how you're going to handle that.
Okay, but what that has to do with an individual employee you're talking about?
I'm not, this is separate. I just said, I like his idea of having a succession plan.
That's different subject than what we're talking
Exactly,
about.
you're right. It is a different subject. I wasn't trying to tie it.
It's more complicated than just, because we can only have one city,
Yes,
right?
thank you all, we appreciate that, we came to the
No,
conclusion
guys.
that the cable
We
guy.
can only have one city clerk.
We're just gonna table.
I think we do.
And I think we need, as a group, come in and it might go on beyond the 5 later. Okay, 4, possible resolutions.
Okay, I've been talking, it's time for renewal of our insurance. I've been talking to Holmes Murphy and for them to give us a proposal besides the other one that we have. They had told me that if the city council is willing to have theirs checked out right along with ours, we could get a bigger discount if we would go together. I don't know if you guys would be interested into checking out another company. I mean, we're going out trying to get whatever we can to match them up.
You guys heard what Pat talked about and all these budget issues that we've got on our side and, limited revenue sources. So she's asking about cost savings because nobody's insurance is going down, right? So if you have 2 bids and even if EMC is cheaper, you go with them, maybe, ironically, they somehow, if you only get one and it's really high, then you're screwed. But if you get 2, they might end up bartering a little bit.
So I did talk to the guy from Holmes Murphy also. And he says you can benefit from the scale of economy, having 2 entities.
Correct.
Instead of each having their own policy. Where if you have one event come through, now you got a claim on this one, you got a claim on this one, you know? And it doesn't cost anything to have them look at it, you know? And again, to me, it always comes back to doing our due diligence. You know, at least we can say, we looked at it. It may not pan out, who knows?
But the information cooperation's gotta be there in order to get.
Right, it's 100%.
Yes, and so that means
Not
if
handing
I
out
ask
if
for
you
something, I
don't.
gotta provide it.
So, anybody else, how they feel? I would make a motion that we do go and get a bid from Holmes Murphy, and that, whoever they need to get information to provides that in a timely, fashion, and, so they can complete this.
Right, I would also, within that though, different companies may have different cost structures in what pieces of insurance, depending on what you do for deductibles and things like that, make things cost more or not. So I don't want, it's not good to just say, well, here's one for one, and yeah, one might be more expensive than the other. I want to see in that proposal that they actually had conversations with us and say, yeah, you're doing this right now, but if we were to tweak this and tweak this based on our cost structure, here's how we can potentially give you a better rate that we think is more appropriate for what you are trying to cover. So I want that to be part of the discussion and not just, here's what you have today and show me the comparison one for one.
I've already got set up with Todd from Holmes Murphy to come and talk to the utilities.
But shouldn't they just be able to get the policy and then you give it to another carrier and they give you the same, they give you a price off of their rates for if the policies match? I mean, isn't it that simple? You give it to the other company.
You're
There's
looking
that,
at multiple things. You're
Yeah.
looking at maybe you change a deductible.
Sure, yeah,
to get this
yeah,
rate
yeah.
with one company.
So when they come, yeah, so when they come in with that information, they should have alternates for.
We
it.
have a bid sheet that we give it to all the companies.
So the
That's how we
first
do
thing-
bidding. It's one sheet, you give it to all the company. So it's a fair game. But you don't go take individual and try to make a deal with it. If you're gonna bid it.
They're their own-
Correct,
their
but at
own-
least we're comparing two bids, and those bids may or may not be equal
Right.
in price or in
If
coverage.
you wanna bid it out, you just say move it second,
And
and
if-
bid it out.
if one gives you some advice and says, we can do this on this, and we think this is what might be more beneficial to you, then you go back and say, let's give both of them opportunity to bid under those scenarios and tell us what. So you're
So
always
then you
treating
have
them the
apples to
same, but I just wanna have more information from both than just,
Yeah.
hey, here's this, what can you do for us that matches this exactly?
I can see a point too, which is valid point, but you still have to start out with a fair game by putting a one
Absolutely.
bid sheet out for everybody.
And that's
The
what I was
baseline.
getting at is, because I told him, I said, I can't tell you yes or no. I said our council would have to decide if they want to have that bid out. So that's why I made that motion is to say, you know, I would like to see us look at it, you know, and then if they contact City Hall, that they get the information that they need, you know, as soon as possible. So they can bid, because I don't think it's renewal coming up. Is it April?
April.
Okay, so
What we do.
we're February.
Without to look to you, I'm just trying to help you out with this. We have it out now on the utility side.
Okay.
The utility decided.
Okay.
We have February, we have a deadline and all this stuff, we're just going by the book.
Right.
If the city will make a motion to do the same thing, we're gonna do the same thing with different dates.
Okay.
So there will be bid sheet out for everybody and all this stuff. Do we go and call Murphy and what we do? Because we have the right to do that too. You know, we put it Iowa League municipalities and local newspaper and all this stuff, but we go out and we could see all this stuff because I think it's legal. I don't see anything wrong with it. That to get to your point, and to get to your point, if you wanna bid it out, all you need to do just move then second to
Right.
bid it out.
Well, that's what I was doing.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell board, you know, I'm just trying to get it to that point where they can get the information and you guys can, whatever you guys got to do.
Yeah, we'll
Send it.
get it the same way we do with the utility, and we can go out the way and contact Murphy and contact.
Well, we
whoever.
almost should have them bid it two ways then. We should almost have them each bid it. If the utilities goes one direct, if it's just the utilities, it's this amount. If it's the city and the utilities, here's what you get with the communist scale from both companies. Give them both that opportunity. See what I mean?
Yes, we
That's a
do.
good-
And I can let Todd know that.
Yeah.
The thought would be that it would be cheaper if they combine them, but they never.
Correct.
Yeah.
We need to know.
Exactly.
We need to
So
know.
aren't these rates, hasn't there been reference to rates jumping?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or nationwide or
Well, I mean, it's not just
statewide.
because their losses are going up someplace else, they're gonna offset it from everybody.
I heard that
Right.
a lot of them are going 20 to 35%
That's,
this year.
that's what he told me.
Yes.
Mine is going, what we were told at least 9.
So the claims we've had in the last 2 or 3 years with the storm, I mean, what was the damage done to our buildings? You told me at one point, the dollar amount, or maybe you did, I can't remember. Roofs and everything that were replaced, was it $500,000? Is that wrong?
That seems like a lot.
That was the city side, that was the city side.
Okay, so all I'm saying is if the bids are close and you've been with a stable company that's been, you know what I mean, that has paid claims, you know, you do have that relationship. That's all I'm saying.
Well, sure, and that's something you discuss.
Well, you just keep
get
one, if you get both, you get them both honest, is all I'm saying, right? I mean, you don't go buy one car without getting, look at the price of another one. I don't know.
So you got a motion,
I got a
Mike,
motion,
for just the city side. Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Russell. How do you vote, Dolly?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Morgan?
That's
Kavah?
Yes.
Okay, 5, I just had headhunter. I just want to know, where are we standing with the HR person? And did we contact the
We
lady
did
from?
go that and he decided to bring it to the council in March, you remember? So if you ask me, I would have told you that.
Have we contacted the lady from
We
Bonnie
have
Island?
contacted everybody and we're waiting for the permission.
So we'll have a information, what it could possibly be for Jim's position, or if we lose a police officer, because they all vary on price.
We can have him give license for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Just gonna say,
yeah,
might as well do it for
Yeah,
everybody.
that-
why not?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
no.
And we're getting good information, baby. And our HR is provide us with more information. So we're working on it, and as we discussed, we'll be submitting all this information.
Okay,
Okay, so,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you have an HR person, so does that HR person deal with the utilities too?
Yes.
Who's this is the first time I've heard
We
of
have,
the
him-
HR person.
no, to you, it's not HR, it's kind of, we have him for the union, meaning,
Renee?
yeah.
We
Okay.
have an HR person.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
You guys hired somebody separate from that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's separate from you.
Yes.
Okay, but so Renee is for union, but we've got other employees that are not union, so does your HR person
Yeah.
cover?
Yes.
Okay. This is first time I'm hearing about an HR person.
That's it. The higher health
Yeah.
of the citizen.
We're paying for that.
Okay, but they're gonna deal with us too if we need them, right?
Well, that's separate from the headhunter.
Right,
Yes.
yeah,
She's a
but
separate-
so
Alright,
I'm just
sorry.
saying, he's saying HR person,
It's
But-
city side. Yeah.
right, but I just asked you
Yes.
if it would cover the utilities if they were not union members, and you
Yes,
said
because
yes.
they are on the city side.
Okay, I'm saying this is the first time, did any of you other members know about an HR person?
I'd heard about it at a city council meeting that they were looking into it. I
Okay,
think it's a good idea.
but did anyone else? This is the first time I heard about it, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, city Bayfield, so we don't have to.
The second Monday of every month, can we have a?
I'm usually on the computer.
It's better in person, let me tell you.
We're looking at a headhunter, or looking into for Jim's job, but it's not a bad thing, and that maybe goes with some sort of a succession plan too, but how do we go about, and we're not saying Jim's position is more important than others, but is that something that we need to have something in writing that we look at for any and all employees?
Full-time? Yeah, I couldn't agree more with
There
you.
should be a job description.
Well, but I mean, what his point is, this person's on point to go try to, like, Pat was looking for somebody for how long?
Oh, 2 months.
So I mean, if this, where I see that fitting, that you guys are doing, is we don't spend any money right now, but a position opens up and Pat has this person, Ash has whoever, or you got a retirement, you know, and there's a notice given, and that person's on point to retain to go forward. And I don't-
We're struggling to
Who's this
get-
person anyway.
We struggle a lot of times to get, you know, with advertising, whatever it is, locally,
Right.
but is there something that would be both entities here? Is there something that we need to look at that we're gonna do this when we know Pat's done? how are we filling that job? Are we going forward? Are we,
That's succession planning.
Yeah.
and do we have someone in place to get right after it when we want them?
Well, we're gonna get a bigger pool to choose from.
We,
Yeah.
we contacted two
It's like hiring.
people that they're gonna give us information, and that's to give information.
And I think that's what Dick was getting at with.
Yes.
not just-
Yes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I just wanted to fill
Nice way.
you guys.
I totally,
No,
I'd make that motion to work with the city on that basis, not to spend money, but to have that person as a contact. I'm serious.
Yeah,
Right, if it's a shared employee, there's going to be shared costs.
Correct.
So that's what I'm trying to get at. I'd make that
And when
motion.
we're getting the information back, like, we'll be able to.
Oh, you don't have somebody.
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, but I recant from that motion.
Yeah, you're all right.
I mean, Neil, Shirley, what do you guys think of that?
I didn't have any comment.
Okay,
I think it's a no-brainer.
okay.
You say March? We're looking at maybe getting these back for
Yeah,
March,
we,
our March
we're getting all
meeting.
the information by March.
So if there's something for us to look at, I totally agree. If there's,
Yeah,
if
we will
there's
share it with you.
shared employees, or if there's, somebody's hiring, you're hiring, then you've got somebody to go to, first would always be, I couldn't agree more, it was reminded is to look internal. I totally agree with, but at the same time, if you don't have that, or if it's a position you have to go outside for, then.
It would be nice to have help looking for
So
something.
Yeah.
sometimes some of those headhunters are specialized in that.
Correct.
So if we're looking for a utility person, we might be using a different headhunter than the city's gonna use to find a police officer.
And just because we have an agreement does not mean we have to use them as a
With
person.
license, you know, and license you will always be available.
Yeah.
You know, job hunting is.
But I mean, when you guys get that formalized, pass it to our side, add it up
Yes,
with that. Okay.
yes, absolutely, we'll share that information with you.
Who are you guys getting? Or what is this?
We're trying to.
You're looking at different
Jim,
people, or-
Jim is usually.
Okay.
Jim's
Well,
leaving.
he's not.
Yeah.
Couple years.
Sorry, folks.
He can always put it.
Who are you contacting? You said you'll know. So who are you talking to?
We talked to two or three, do you have the name?
People service. That's what Jim-
People service.
People service that recommendation from Jim, and we have.
No, that was only an option.
It's psych.
But they all gonna give back to us, we already did all the initiation.
Is the Bonder Act
They
Galvin's
give-
come out? Is she a headhunter too?
Yes, I called her.
Well, is it not that simple? Cause isn't she a city manager?
Yeah, she is.
Well, I'm just asking.
She said it costs so much for this position, so much for this. I said, we need the information back from her.
Okay, so that's when you're looking.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we're, yeah,
I just
yeah.
asked.
Yeah, we got it going, it's just, we
The one
gave
from
them till
Bonder,
March to
she's
bring
the
that back.
city.
It's in the mail,
Did you guys follow up?
do you want us to?
Yeah. I contacted her and
He
told
told
her,
me she's gonna give you stuff.
no, I said, you need to contact her and
Okay,
get the
we'll
information.
contact that bank. Yeah, we're contacting a lot of people, that's why I said in March is where we're gonna get the information, we're gonna share it with the utility board, and we're gonna present it to the council in March. Now, is the word out. Somebody needs
I
to
only
tell
drive a few
That's-
blocks.
how's interstate?
Drive fast. And then if you start sliding, you'll make it somewhere.
So,
That's the best news we had tonight.
utility and council, anything else? We don't have-
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.